Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good afternoon, ladies and gents, and Happy New Year. We are in 2023. So this is, in a new year, the very first and a special edition of the post-conference presser. So I'm your host, I'm Dave Davis, coming to you not from rural Ireland, but from Edinburgh, where it's a bit cold and dank, but not too bad. And I'm very pleased to say I've got a new guest with me today, joining James Mckeen. James, how are we?
I'm good, Dave. How you doing? Happy New Year.
Nice one. Yeah, same to you, buddy. Have a good Christmas, good New Year period.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, nice and restful. So ready to crack into it.
Good stuff. Fingers crossed like the Reds are against Brentford tomorrow. So plenty to talk through, ladies and gents. So we'll start where we normally start. A bit differently, though, because I know we normally go into the Klopp press conference comments and what was said. Now, just to set the scene on this, there wasn't a full presser the day before, which would be today, with Brentford being tomorrow, like there normally is. They did it as almost a small snippet, if you want, a small segment after the Leicester game. So I think about 5-10 minutes, so to speak, worth of footage was shown through the official LFC TV channel. But the key thing to be aware of, as we have been told, there is an embargo for 10:30 tonight. So that's what we have been told. There is an embargo for 10:30 tonight. So I'll probably have a little chat about what that brings. So thinking about Leicester, it was mentioned, and we won't go into this too much yet, James, because we'll save it for that section. But Klopp was deadly honest in saying that we could have played a lot better. I don't think he's wrong there. We did play into Leicester's hands. We forced them into mistakes, though, and we had our moments later on. We knew we had to improve when we were 2-1 at half-time. He wanted to give credit to Leicester, but we had massive chances to finish them off. So quite a lot said, again, in a short period of time. One thing I do want to go into, James, that I won't say he mentioned it specifically because he was asked Trent Alexander-Arnold. So it was a question from Sky there. Sky journalist saying, how would you view his performance? And Klopp was, a bit bullish with this, said he was really good, very important and very helpful. And even name-checked Harvey Barnes there, doing really well against him. So do you agree with that, James? Is Trent back on form as we all want him to be?
We'll see so, Dave. I mean, at the end of the day, he gives that creative edge to Liverpool down the right. And it just shows he's a great defender. And he definitely had Harvey Barnes in his pocket as well.
Yeah.
You notice that the switches, like some of his passing was a little bit poor, but other than that, it was a good game for him. Now, usually he links up really well with Robbo, but you could see that there was something going on with Robbo on that left side. He wasn't getting up as quickly as he usually does. And obviously in 60 minutes, he ended up getting withdrawn as well. So there's definitely something in it. So all in all, Dave, I would say a fantastic performance. Not as much going forward, more defensively.
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, in a strange way, that's pleasing because I thought Villa, obviously everyone talked about that killer ball for the Robbo assist quite rightly, but I did really like that for all the talk that's been recently over Trent, like you said, James, defensively, you know, he saved Matip's bacon probably on one occasion as well, but he did have Harvey Barnes and Leicester well and truly shackled down there. So, yeah, fingers crossed that continues. And probably coming to the next bit that got mentioned altogether, and we've got to talk about it because bringing Robbo in there, he did mention that in a bizarre exchange, something like Harvey almost injured Robbo in the pre-match warm-up, gave him a knock on his hip. So that was a link to the withdrawal. Harvey obviously got a knock later on. And then he was asked about Fabinho. Is there any news on Fabinho? Now, we know that's subsequently linked to, obviously, his new baby, so congratulations to him then. Any thoughts on whether we see those three against Brentford at all?
So the one that we want to see is probably Fabinho. He's the guy, just plays the six. He solidifies the whole midfield. I would rest Robbo. You could see that there was something not as, we'll say, poignant or dynamic through that left side, because usually if he's on form, he would be up that left side. As soon as we started using the left side, you had Nunez breaking, and again, you had an attack. It wasn't there. You could see there was something not right. So I would actually rest Robbo, and I would use Tsimikas instead. When it comes to Harvey Elliott, well, if we could have Fab, Hendo, and even now, you know, Thiago, could we rest Thiago and maybe put on Keita instead? Something like that. Again, you know, these older boys need a little bit more rest, and there just has to be a bit more rotation.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, we won't speak too much about Harvey and Hendo because we'll come on to that in the section around anyone's played the way in and out. But yeah, I think it was an interesting style of press conference, an interesting performance from a few of those, like you said there. Interestingly enough, in his presser, he also mentioned, let me correct that, he was asked about whether he felt sympathy for the Leicester centre-half, I think it's pronounced Faze, the lad who scored the two own goals. So when he was asked, he said, of course I do, but whatever I say, it won't change the situation. You know, you can extend the sympathy, but it's not going to change anything. Be deadly honest, James. Any sympathy for the boy?
As a Liverpool supporter, no, we won 2-1 at the end of the day. As a human, like obviously as being a defender, and even Klopp was a defender, like scoring 2 own goals. And obviously Jamie Carragher got ripped about it because I think he's only won, I think there's 4 or maybe 5 that have scored 2 own goals in the Premier League, or the Premier League, and he was one of them. So, look, it's one of those things. He had a bad day. He's a great prospect. I think he's going to be a really good defender for Leicester. I think he has been a good defender. So just one of those things. But at the end of the day, I don't feel sorry for him. He'll move on. He'll brush on, and then that's it. And it's 3 points to us. So that's it.
Well, you're nicer than me because I didn't feel any sympathy at all. We'll take 3 points where we can get it anyway, anyhow in the current climate. But yeah, different views. It makes sense. Little bit on the spot here, James. Now, we don't really know fully. Well, say we don't really know fully. We don't know at all what the embargo is going to be. Little bit on the spot. If I had to press you, what do you think it's going to lean towards, or what do you think it's going to be about? They're not always exciting as they're made out to be, as we know.
I mean, it could be 2 things. Number one, maybe a wee bit of midfielder who's going to come in that will get pressed. And then probably also as well as any more word on Bobby's contract. Is there, you know, there's a contract in place, but what's happening with it? I mean, something like that. That would be my money.
That is feasible. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I hope it's number 1. I can't see it, but I'd love it to be number 1. But yeah, it's a good point. The Bobby chat after his recent comments when he was pressed last time and gave quite a bit away. So will be interesting. Yeah, but like we said, it was only a sort of short one and we've no idea what the embargo is. So we are speculating, but let's see on that one. So moving on to the Leicester game, looking at any clues from that performance. Dear God, James, it was not our best performance, let's put it that way, in a 2-1 win. And who'd have thought we'd win 2-1 at Anfield when not a single Liverpool player scores? But as I said, we'll take it no matter what. It's 3 points at this stage of the season. A win's a win, all the other platitudes, etc. When you look back at it now, cold light of day, what are your honest thoughts on the performance?
So, Dave, my honest thoughts on the performance is that we need to do something about that midfield. It gets bypassed way, way too easy. I mean, as much as we love Henderson, he presses. If he loses that press, he's not quick enough to get back. When he's quick enough to get back and he's busting his gut, you can see that, he's only lasting 50, 60 minutes, and it's the same as Thiago as well. You have a high energy team like Spurs that play very, very well in the second half. We're going to be in trouble there.
Yeah.
I keep coming back to Robertson because, again, anyone could see that by putting the ball wide, we were causing them problems. But again, if we have a challenge with Robbo, i.e. that he has been injured in the warm-up, then obviously that left side isn't as poignant as it usually is. Okay? Look, if I have to say the positives, I'm quite happy with how Núñez plays. I mean, I think...
Yeah.
Baker calls him Captain Chaos, and that's exactly what he is. He's just a wee bit of sugar and spice and everything nice, but he's just an animal as well. And it's just nice to see. It's something a bit different, a bit of a clear edge that Liverpool have. And I like to see it. Now, going back to the negative, like Henderson, I just wasn't happy with the way that Henderson he played the six. I thought he got caught out too much when he tried to press. He lost the press. There was no aggression. I was very disappointed. But again, is it because he can't play twice? Is it that, that this is what we're going to see, that there's going to be a peak of performance and then there's going to be a drop-off due to his age, due to is just his, the amount of football that he's played this season? I mean, again, Dave, what do you think? I mean, it's Henderson.
It's a mix. I'm going to be deadly honest about this. Deadly honest. I thought he was absolutely appalling as the six. I mean, their first goal, the lad waltzes through, and it's Dewsbury Hall, isn't it? The Leicester player. I think he bullied him all game. That's the easiest way I can say it. It just, I don't think I can, on evidence, and listen, I'm putting my tin hat on for this because I know there's listeners that are going to be screaming at this point, but I just can't consider Jordan Henderson as a six. I thought it was a big issue there. I agree with what you said as well around Núñez. Everything but the goal for me. And he played a couple of beautiful passes, especially that ball of the game through for Salah as well, didn't he? So there were definitely positives, I'd agree in that sense. Not that many, and maybe not many others with pass marks. I suppose that is one thing I did want to ask. Aside from Núñez, have you mentioned, aside from...
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m, Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin DeVries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Him, anyone else you think you're giving, and we've mentioned Trent to be fair as well, I should say, sorry, but anyone else you're giving pass marks to?
I'm going to give Salah pass marks, and the reason being is he was quiet, but anytime he got the ball, he was trying to link up, and it was nice to see Núñez and Salah looking for each other, which is a good sign that the strike, that you've got the 2 strikers that are actually looking for each other. Another thing which I found quite interesting as well is obviously when Keita came on and we solidified, we looked a lot better and we looked to contain them a lot better. So again, that's good to know that if we are under the cosh, if we do bring Keita on, or if he starts, i.e. if we do play like a 4-4-2, we can kind of pack that midfield, because like Leicester just overran us just constantly, like they really did. And I don't think Liverpool played pretty well. I don't even think Leicester played pretty well. They just played us, bear in mind they had 5 injuries as well. So they were like, less than adequate. It's just one of those things, Dave. It's just one of those things. At least we got the 3 points. That's all we needed. And
I agree.
On, I think that the games come thick and fast, and I think that it's going to be rotation, very much so. It has to be, right? Like, we can't take any more injuries. We just can't. Like,
well,
bare bones.
We're going to find out soon enough, James, because I am going to put you on the spot in the next section. However, probably the one person I would mention that I didn't hear you say, I thought Thiago was excellent. And I thought Thiago was excellent because at times I did feel he was playing a one-man midfield practically. So he's the only other one I'd sort of put on the pass mark bench, if you want to call it that. But yeah, there was a lot to stew over. So we do a section, as regular viewers will know, or regular listeners even, around has anyone played their way in or out? Now, you've touched upon this, James, that Robbo, naturally with the knock and the impact that has, he's probably, a product of circumstance, is not going to play. So I'm going to put a few things to you for anyone played their way in and out to get your honest thoughts. Let's start in the defence. Ibu's back, or we believe he's back. Would you give him the nod over Matip? Has Matip played his way out at all, would you say?
I would bring Kanate in. I think that Brentford are quite like a high ball team. They love a header into the box, so I think Kanate would be better to deal with that. So I would say Kanate in instead of Matip.
Fair enough. Harvey and Hendo, obviously, we've talked about their performance, and you mentioned a guy there in Keita, who's had the odd sort of half an hour build himself back up there, and probably a young kid who we need to highlight. We've got to put him on the block here. To be fair, that young Badge, great goal against Villa, and a good wee cameo, I think it's fair to say, against Leicester. There, we got the only Klopp fist pump of the game, I think it's fair to say as well. So if we're saying Harvey out and Hendo, we're on the bench maybe about that. But Badge and Naby played their way in at all?
Naby, yes. Badge, no. I think he's still a little bit too young. I would rather play him against Wolves in the cup, that kind of way. I think that we showed this before, that we give Harvey and Carvalho the chance, and sometimes the game just bypasses them. This is a very vital game. This is a pinnacle game for us to get those 3 points, especially away to Brentford. They're the draw specialists as well. So I would just go with a tried and tested. If Hendo, it depends on definitely take Keita in and take Elliott out without a shadow of a doubt for me.
Okay. And the last one before we will go on to the full lineup section later on like we normally do, but Ox needs to be discussed because that's 2 games in a row and a real mix according to some fans if you read Twitter, and probably according to my eyes as well, that did okay versus Liverpool. Pretty non-existent, I'd say, versus Leicester. Now, again, the suggestion was from Klopp in the last press conference, we need to run with it, that the Gakpo paperwork's not going to be done in time due to bank holidays or the trivialities that go along with that. Is the Ox getting a nod for the 3rd time in a row for you, James?
For me, no. I think he's a great player. I think he's a servant to Liverpool, but I think now you can see that he's not up to the pinnacle. Like, you have to ask yourself, would he start against Real Madrid? Absolutely not. Ways must. could we play a 4-4-2 instead? But just Ox, I would like to see away. I think that he's good. Again, we can keep him for a couple of. That's what I like at.
Fair enough. So we've got a few answers there over who's going out and who's going in, and we do need to talk about Brentford because they are an interesting side when you look at the stats. I mean, if you look at them right now, they're 10th in the league. They're 10 points outside the relegation zone. So they're not in that area where they were last season. And oddly, they're only 5 points off ourselves. So, hopefully a run comes together. But you've got to keep that in mind at the same time. Doing really well since the restart as well. They beat West Ham the Purple Strips, 2-0 away the other night. Great result for them. And even the first game after the restart, 2-2 draw with Spurs, where at home in the early kickoff, they're probably a bit disappointed to be sort of 2 ahead and then let it slip. But that's intended to be the story of Spurs, but that's a different story altogether. And you have to think in mind with Brentford, they've been good. They have beat City away this season as well. You look at how they set up, it is a standard 3-5-2 for them. So they look for the switch. They look to play the 2 up front specifically, don't they? And Buemo, I think it's pronounced, runs the channels brilliantly. And Ivan Toney, bit of a gamble, pun there, if we're playing him potentially from what we're hearing, but very much the target man, if you want, as well. So interesting one on this, James, because we looked at Thomas Franks' press conference today, and he's very much said there is a possibility, maybe to everyone's surprise, considering he stretched it off the other night, that Toney may play. There is the concern that he didn't train today for them, which does sound odd, but he may still play. I don't know if I'll probably ask you this because it feels a bit like mind games to watch a guy stretch it off, and I know people are going to be shouting about, well, he's got his case on the 4th of July, so in a few days, his last game before that, and a potential, saying that carefully, potential ban. Your gut, James, does Ivan Toney play against Liverpool?
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, mag boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
I think it'd be foolish to play. Stretchered off is, it's not like just hobbling off. If you're stretching off and plus you haven't actually trained today, and then I think it's Thomas Frank playing mind games. And I guess that's one of those things that he would have to do as well, because we would be setting up to try and nullify Toney as much as we could. So obviously if Thomas Franks came out and says, look, Toney's going to be fit, then we have to think, right, what are we going to do about this? But I can't see him playing, Dave. No, definitely not.
I sincerely hope you're right, because, you look at his stats, 12 goals in 16 games so far, looking pretty special for them, and probably quite rightly aggrieved, but maybe there's circumstances we can't talk too much about with the FA around the England squad, etc. But I suppose in one sense, if he's out, that's great. We don't just want to call it's not Ivan Toney FC. Is there anyone else in the Brentford team that you look at and think, actually, we need to keep an eye on him or the style they play, anything like that, James? Or is it focus on Ivan Toney?
No, I think, as you're saying, if they're playing five in midfield, they're going to pack that midfield. They've got Nogard, they've got Jensen and Janvelt, okay? Three really hard-working midfielders that will battle and, that will try and push and knock and bully Liverpool. So we need to have a bit of, kind of grit and determination in there. So I would say, obviously, that the game's going to be won in midfield. That's why it's so important for us to actually have a decent midfield. I don't think Thiago, Henderson and Elliott's gonna cut it against Brentford.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think you probably phrased it exactly the way I'd phrase it. They're not bad players. They're not superb players. They're very hard-working. They pack that midfield and they do look for the switch a lot, Brentford. And it's going back away, but if you think of that 3-3 draw last season especially, did get the overload, didn't they? Switching it quickly a few times. So it's definitely something that we'll look at. And I suppose as a follow-up to that, James, because you did mention it earlier, any specific measures or adjustments, and it sounds strange because it's not belittling Brentford, but it's always important to consider the opposition. Any specific measures or adjustments that you think will make with it being Brentford and their style?
I like the 4-4-2. I thought that I think that could potentially be something that would work quite well. Also, as well, is Bobby fit? This
is the interesting one. The suspicion is that he is, based on his TalkSport interview and everything that's come out. But this is the risk without a standard press conference, isn't it, today, to be able to ask the questions. So we're kind of assuming at this stage, yes, but not 100%.
Because obviously if Bobby was fit, then we could go 4-3-3, bring Keita in instead of Elliott, there'll be Henderson and Thiago. We're hoping that Fabinho's fit, but we're planning for the worst outcome here. Just to try and nullify that midfield. I think that it's I honestly do think, Dave, that two things. Number one, Brentford have got a lot better this year because of Ben Mee. I think he's a great centre. I think he's a great defender. I think he's a great captain. And number two, obviously Tony is just fantastic. He's an absolute fire. So if we could get Nunez close to Ben Mee and bully him a wee bit, then that would be also good as well. We need Thiago's kind of his passing, his range is phenomenal. So if we can get that back, then that would be amazing too.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be interesting. And yeah, you're floating 4-4-2, you're floating names and formations. So we're going to have to get you on the chopping block now, James, in the beat the host section. So I'm still disappointed to say that it is guests 1, host 0, so to speak, after 2 rounds. So this is the 3rd round coming up. So if we're thinking about the formation and lineup, so taking as what we know, that Robbo and Harvey can be classed as doubts. We can't say they're out specifically, but based on their knocks, their injuries. Fabinho, again, as James mentioned there, it's a little bit of a question mark around what's happening in regards to family matters. And then Bobby, a bit of uncertainty. Hopeful, I'll probably say, with Bobby more than the other 3, based on previous interviews, but it's difficult without that definitive presser. Probably the disappointing one for many, and we're hopeful this is a lovely surprise, but we're not expecting it, is Cody Gakpo is not expected to be in the squad due to, as we said, registrations, paperwork, bank holidays, all the bureaucracy, etc., etc. So you've given us a few, James. You've told us Konate, Tsimikas in. You've flirted 4-4-2 with us now. So you're going to have to put it down on paper for us, James. Your formation and your lineup, please.
Okay. So as we more or less state of play now, okay, so I'm going to go with, I believe Bobby's fit, okay? I think they'll do a 4-3-3.
Yeah.
I think it'll be Keita. I think it'll be Henderson and Thiago. I don't think Fabinho will try. Did he travel?
We don't know. The suspicions, and this is again where the presser comes in, that with the latest photos that he may be with his wife in Madrid, where she's had the baby. But sounds strange again to say, because we look for everything, don't we? Planes in the air and all that type of thing. But We do not know for definite because he's not been in recent photos, and there's other talk about him having a knock, so can't guarantee it, to be honest.
Okay, so we'll go Thiago, Keita and Hendo then.
Oh, Hendo in the 6, James. I hope you got your tin hat on, mate, because you're going to get pelters when this comes out. Keeping Hendo in the 6, fair enough. So Bobby up top, you've put him, and you mentioned specifically because he can drop back in there as well, help out.
Yeah. Bobby just dropping in there, and then Nunez and Salah. Yes.
Nunez and Salah, okay, and Konate and
Simicast, yeah.
Konate, okay, fair enough. I think that is largely going to be the same. I have my fears, and I'm going to put my tin hat on. I wouldn't necessarily do it, but I think that is pretty much going to be the lineup as well. I think Klopp will keep Hendo in the 6, much to mine, and I'm sure others' disagreements. I do think Jurgen will specifically do that. The only thing I would probably say is I think as much as we talk a lineup and the 5 subs and the importance there, I think Badge coming on will be crucial. It's difficult to see without knowing everything and potential knocks who else will be there to refresh. Listen, if Fabinho's available at all, he starts, but we cannot guarantee that. So fingers crossed, because this, I think, has got all the hallmarks, as you mentioned, James, against the hard-working team of being really, really tough. So I'm asking you this with a little bit of trepidation here, I've got to be honest. The score and Liverpool's first scorer. What are you going for, James?
I'm going to say a draw, which I don't want to say, but I'm just thinking that the draw specialists. And I think finally Nunez will score.
So a draw. What are we talking? 1-1, 2-2?
1 each.
1 each, and Darwin to get back on the goal scoring books. Okay, interesting. Fortune favours the brave, and this is probably my heart talking more than my head, in all honesty, but I'm going to go 2-1. I don't believe we keep a clean sheet at all. And I'm going to go Konate. I'm going to go a crazy prediction. Someone put a crazy one in there. I'm going to go Konate from some sort of set piece to open it on his return. But listen, at the end of the day, you look at the result today. I know Spurs lost at home to Villa. Newcastle drew against Leeds at the other day, and Newcastle have got Arsenal away. The top 4 all of a sudden doesn't look so far out of reach as it once did. However, I think you said it, James. This is a massive game, innit? Is this? Yeah, I'll ask you. I'll put pressure on you. Is this a must-win?
Yes, it is a must-win. Yes, it is. It is. It's a hard game. If we can get over this, it'll give the lads a bit more confidence. You know, they're the draw specialists of the Premier League, and to beat them would be something special. I have put a prediction as 1 each because that's just, that's what I think it's going to be. But, hope to God that we overcome that. And my prediction's completely wrong. Over.
I would love it. I do not care if it's 2 Ben Mee own goals again or anything like that. A win is a win at this stage of the season. So we will see what tomorrow brings. So thank you to all for being listening. It's only a short one because, as we said, it wasn't a standard press conference, but it was important to talk what was said after the Leicester game. Very much think it through, and fingers crossed it leads to 3 points. So general housekeeping, just to remember, there'll be the normal Nina show after the game, the Raw. So feel free to sort of dial in, listen to that one. Fingers crossed, everyone is talking about 3 points, however it comes. But all it remains to do is leave me to thank James. James, thank you very much for your time and views, mate. Very much appreciated.
Not a problem, Dave. Thanks.
Good stuff. And we'll speak to you all in the new year, guys.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community. where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.